trillion swing. President Obama comes in, first year, he reduces the deficit, which is what contributes to national debt, by $700 billion.
Are stimulus checks going to be sent out immediately? Well, there has been new released information on $2,000 stimulus checks. The lawmakers are now negotiating on $100 stimulus payments. The gas prices are soaring nationwide, and AAA reports that the national average cost of a gallon of gas hit $5.16 as of June 14th. This is the all-time record high price, and since many people cannot eliminate gasoline usage or even significantly cut down their fuel costs, these surging prices have hit hard. As a result, lawmakers are naturally considering ways to provide relief, including potentially sending out another stimulus payment. Proposals to help the public cope with gas prices exist at the federal level as well as in some states. One plan put forth on the federal level, for example, is called the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. It would provide a monthly rebate during any month when the national average cost of gas is $4 or more. The rebate would last to the end of 2022 and would total $100 per adult and per dependent for single filers earning less than $75,000 or joint filers earning less than $150,000. It would phase out at higher income levels, with single filers getting no rebate once their income topped $80,000. And married joint filers losing the rebate with an income of $160,000 or higher. Now, state plans exist in certain locations because in early June, for example, North Carolina Democrats put forth a plan to send money to residents via check or debit card. The money would come in the form of a $200 rebate to North Carolina residents and would be available by October 1st to anyone who is 18 or over. Now, this is a bit different from the past stimulus checks that have come from the federal government because those were able to be deposited into people's bank accounts if they provided the information, and while these payments would come in the form of a debit card or check only. So the child tax credit in 2022 will return to conditions offered by the IRS before the American Rescue Plan expanded it. The amount of the credit is smaller, and eligibility is more restricted than last year. Under the rules which were established through the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. These changes will be in effect through the 2025 fiscal year if no action is taken by Congress to modify the credit before then. A big change to help many families last year was, instead of receiving monthly installments on the credit they did from July to December of 2021, the money will be distributed in the form of a single tax credit, which will reduce the size of the recipient's tax bill or increase their tax refund. Taxpayers with eligible children will be able to claim a credit worth up to $2,000 per child, and this year the credit is partially refundable and there is an earnings threshold. To be able to start claiming up to $1,400 portion known as the additional child tax credit. Taxpayers who owe less in taxes than the refundable amount will have it added to their tax refund. The non-refundable portion will reduce taxes owed dollar for dollar. The 2022 child tax credit is available to parents with dependents under the age of 17 at the end of the year, December 31st, 2022, and who meet certain eligibility requirements. And under the credit, children ages 17 were eligible for the full amount of the much larger 2021 child tax credit. Many studies have linked the 12-month child tax credit expansion to a decrease in child poverty, and first-hand accounts for those who received the payments occurred.
Who opposed me on that score. I always, when people have a suggestion, I say, does it create jobs? Does it create jobs? Does it reduce the deficit? The national debt, and let's go bigger, the national debt. So
Approximately 666,000 frontline workers are eligible to receive this check, and it will determine who receives the bonus payments. If all eligible workers apply, then each will receive approximately $750. If fewer workers apply, then that pot will be split among those applicants. The Minnesota Senate recently passed the Comprehensive Health and Human Services Reform Bill to address the state's long-term care and workforce issues. So folks, will President Biden do something for this? Folks, we have a ton of news about the Ford stimulus checks, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. There's a huge deadline for millions of Americans, and officials have confirmed they need to take action to claim a one-time relief check. In roughly 2 months, the governor of Connecticut will send out nearly $170 million in tax rebates and other payments to low and middle-income families, with children and to Connecticut's working poor. While it's part of one of the largest tax cuts in state history, it also marks the largest election year outpouring of one-time relief, since the governor sent $115 million in tax rebates to Connecticut households as he sought re-election in 1998. State's administration hopes to send out at least 300,000 child tax credit rebates this year to single parents earn less than $100,000 in 2021, and the two-parent families that earn less than $200,000. Families must file with the State Department of Revenue Services before June 1st and July 31st to receive a credit. The administration said it expects to issue the relief in August. Around the same time, it also expects to distribute $40 million to $45 million among roughly 180,000 working poor households who claim the state's earned income tax credit on the 2021 state tax returns. The state earned income tax credit currently is worth 30% of the federal credit and provides recipients an average benefit of $700. The one-time $300 bump Lamont and other Democrat-controlled legislature approved for earned income tax credit recipients effectively raised the state credit temporarily to 42% of the tax benefit. But tax reform advocates have been pushing for years to make permanent a child tax credit and enhanced earned income tax credit program. The governor of the city wants to reassess the state's fiscal health after much of the $3 billion in federal crisis relief Connecticut received last year has been exhausted. Over the weekend, buyers paid a $5 a gallon, or roughly $100 to fill the tank, and gas prices have doubled since Biden took office. JP Morgan analysts predict $6 a gallon by August, and experts warn this crisis will continue even after Biden's term ends because he's dismantling fossil fuel production. There are now 20 states plus Washington, D.C. with averages of $5 or above. The highest priced states remain California with a state average of $6.42 a gallon. 31% of the nation's 130,000 gas stations were already selling gas for more than $5 a gallon. There are stations and states where gas is cheaper. About 15% of stations nationwide still are selling gas for less than $4.50 a gallon. But even in May, states where gas is cheaper, such as Mississippi, lower average income can mean drivers have to work longer to fill up their tanks. Biden has fighting inflation is his top priority. But when it comes to curbing oil prices, there's little he may be able to do. And Biden announced a plan in March to release up to 180 million barrels from the country's emergency oil reserves. That's spread over 6 months. The unprecedented drawdown is helping, according to analysts, but it hasn't been enough to curb the price gains at the gas pump. And Biden also called on U.S. oil producers to ramp up drilling, while oil producers have faced constraints. Do you think that President Biden is doing all that it takes to help out the American people with stimulus checks, or no? Tell me your thoughts on this.
Chair is pleased to recognize the gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Castor, for your 5 minutes to question.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Secretary Becerra. It's great to see you. And I want to thank you and President Biden for successfully lowering healthcare costs and premiums for millions of American families. That is what Democrats in Congress intended through the American Rescue Plan. And now high-quality coverage is more affordable and available to families at a time when they really needed to put money back into their pocket. 14.5 million Americans now rely on the Affordable Care Act, and it has been a particular godsend in my home state of Florida, where we're the third largest state in the country, but we have the highest enrollment of any state, 2.8 million Americans now. That's a 28% increase over last year, largely because